Making sound better. That's what THX Audio has been doing for years. And what have they done now? I'm Fred Fishkin, back with another Techstination interview. And with us from THX is Senior Staff Engineer Andrew Mason. Thanks
Hey,
for
Fred.
joining us, Andrew.
Good to be with you, Fred.
First, maybe a little background for people who they've seen the THX name all the time, and maybe they wonder exactly what that's all about, what you do.
Sure. Yeah. So the company has its roots back in the early 1980s. Started by George Lucas, who, upon seeing the Empire Strikes Back, was dismayed at how the superb audio and video of his source content of his film wasn't being portrayed properly in these cinemas. In one of the screening rooms that he was in, the sound just didn't sound right. They ended up going behind the screen at one point and finding that one of the speakers wasn't even connected properly. The video wasn't up to snuff either. So he tasked one of his engineers, Tomlinson Holman, to see if there were ways of creating standards for cinemas that would portray his films in the proper quality, with the proper audio and video that was in the source content. And the specifications that Tomlinson Holman put together ended up forming the backbone of a new spin-off company that George called THX. Since then, we've got involved with certifying cinemas, and that evolved into then certifying home cinemas, home theaters. And then from there, one of the key elements of home cinemas is, of course, the gear, the equipment that's being used. So we started certifying equipment for home theaters, speakers, AVRs, projectors, and TVs as well. And then from there, THX has always had technology within its backbone. The early cinemas required crossover elements that didn't exist in order to implement the THX standard. And so THX had to develop that hardware to facilitate that. So since then, we've had a small R&D group that's been up and running, and always trying to attack the bleeding edge of what's possible in terms of creating better audio and video experiences.
And now you have something that you're calling the THX Onyx. Tell us about this. It's a really small device.
That's right. We're stepping back into the hardware ring. This is our first hardware product since the 1990s, when those crossovers I mentioned were discontinued. The THX Onyx is it's a small dongle form factor. It's a USB DAC amp, so it contains a digital to analog converter and a headphone amplifier. And so at the one end, there's a USB-C plug, so you can plug it into any USB-C supporting device, such as an Android phone, a laptop, whether it's a Mac or a PC, or using the Apple adapter, you can plug it into your iPhone as well. And at the other end, that's where the 3.5 jack is. You can plug in any 3.5 millimeter headphones or headset. Onyx supports a microphone feature as well.
And what does it do?
So Onyx does a couple of things. The first thing it does, the DAC stands for digital to analog converter. It takes the digital audio out of your device. In many cases, that's a high quality uncompressed audio stream, converts it into the analog world, which is the first step of getting it ready to play over your headphones. And it does that in a very, very high quality manner, with extremely low noise and extremely low distortion. The next stage in the analog chain within Onyx is our AAA amplifier. That takes the analog signal out of the DAC and enhances the voltage and the current, in other words, the power in that signal, and then uses that power to drive the headphones and produce the audio that you hear out of the headphones. So it's really two products in one. It's the digital to analog converter and the headphone amplifier all in one product.
And the difference is pretty dramatic for people who they might even be, be taken aback when they plug it in and plug their headphones in. So describe for us what happens to this signal that gives you that kind of effect.
You bet. So the first thing that most people comment on is like, wow, it's very loud. And that's followed up by, but it's so clear. So with Onyx, we've used a very, very powerful AAA amplifier inside of it, a AAA 78 model. That amplifier has a very, very high output power capability. It can drive 180 milliwatts per channel into as down as low as 22 ohms loads, headphone loads. And it can swing high output voltage as well. What that really translates to is it can give you power that you would normally associate with a dedicated standalone desktop amplifier, like a big box on your desktop. That kind of headphone amplifier power, but now in a very, very small portable product. What can you do with that power? You can drive headphones that you would normally only associate with the studio environment. You can drive those headphones and take them with you on the go. We're talking high impedance models from companies like Beyerdynamics and Sennheiser. Onyx can drive those to satisfying SPL levels. We're also talking about planar magnetic headphones that are high quality but low sensitivity. They need a lot of volts, a lot of power to drive them and to get a satisfying SPL out of them. Onyx can drive those as well. And the other thing about Onyx, it's got a very, very low noise floor. So with that, what you can do is you can plug in very sensitive headphones like your IEMs, and still have a very, very unnoticeable, very, very low noise floor. Whereas some traditional powerful amplifiers, they also have a high noise floor, so they can't be used with IEMs. Onyx can drive your entire suite of headphones. That's one of the nice things about it.
What are the differences that users would experience between using this on an Android device, a notebook, or an iPhone?
Sure. The Onyx those platforms support Onyx very well for the most part. 3 of the platforms Onyx can plug in directly. That's PC through a USB-C port, Mac through a Thunderbolt port, which is the same form factor as USB-C. And then the Android phone, of course, would have a USB-C port as well. Onyx can also plug directly into the USB-C port on your iPad Pro. And then for the iPhone with Lightning ports, we recommend Apple's standard slim form factor adapter, which converts between Lightning and USB-C to facilitate Onyx. What can you expect in terms of experience and sound quality across these platforms? We have a table that shows which, and I can link that to you later, which shows compatibility of various software apps with Onyx across the platforms. For example, Apple Music gives a really great experience for people who are using iPhone or Mac. Apple Music now has Apple Music Lossless, which is a nice free feature to subscribers. They stream very high quality audio. It's all 24-bit, and it's from 44.1 up to 192 kilohertz sample rate. So this is like CD quality or better in all cases. Apple is now streaming this uncompressed, and Onyx can decode that properly and render that properly with bit perfect playback. Now, Apple Music Lossless is not available yet on PC or Android, but PC or Android users have a couple of good options as well. There's Tidal, which is an app that streams their flavor of high quality uncompressed audio. MQA is the standard that they use. Onyx has a built-in MQA decoder and renderer, so it'll take the partially unfolded MQA audio from Tidal and then properly render it in a way that satisfies the MQA criteria. And Onyx reflects that. By the way, Onyx reflects the LED color shows what form factor the audio is that Onyx is rendering at any moment. So for MQA audio decoding and rendering, it will show magenta LEDs. PC and Android users also have another good option. If they don't like MQA, Amazon Music HD is now streaming high quality PCM uncompressed music, CD quality or higher. Onyx will render that properly as well with bit perfect playback. And so there's a wide catalog of music there on Amazon Music HD. And Onyx, when it's rendering that at higher than CD quality, it will reflect that with gold LEDs. on the product. So there's a variety of different software available on these different platforms. And the things I've mentioned are just for streaming. If you have local file playback, Onyx supports that too with a variety of players, Audioravana, Fubar 2000, the list goes on, and Onyx is universally supported.
You certainly can hear the difference. There is no separate power supply or battery in this. So how much of a hit, if is it noticeable, is it going to have on my battery life on my mobile device?
Yeah, that's a good point. Onyx does draw its power from the 5-volt USB-C port of the device. For laptops and desktop computers, it's a non-issue. It's a negligible power draw. For portable devices like phones, nothing comes for free, so Onyx will draw some power, and it will impact your battery life by a few hours versus not running the Onyx, of course. But it's still, we're talking about, we're still having, 8, 12 plus hours of listening at very, very high volume. It's not a massive draw on power. As it turns out, within the power budget of THX Onyx, the AAA amplifier is so efficient that the amplifier itself only consumes 1/3 of the power going into the device. 2/3 of the power is actually going into the very, very high quality digital to analog converter in the product. This is a converter that's been optimized for the highest quality conversion, and because of that, there's a bit of power consumption associated with that. But that's the way of high quality audio world. We're constantly striving to drive that power consumption down, but it will never be zero, of course.
And of course, this is designed primarily for music, but a lot of people are watching movies on their iPads and laptops and such. So I guess the experience might be noticeable there as well. Back to the THX roots.
Absolutely. Have you ever been on that noisy airplane and you're struggling to hear the faint dialogue sequence in a movie? I think most of us have been there, or been on a noisy commute, public transit, or walking on the sidewalk, and we're trying to listen to dialogue on a podcast or in a movie, and you just can't hear it, and there's no more volume up settings on the volume dial. Onyx, with its high output power and high resolution, can really help to resolve those scenes and make them more audible. It's got a super high dynamic range, so then you'll be able to listen to those scenes at high volume without hearing the hiss of a noise floor jumping up at you and making things annoying. So it really enhances, like you mentioned, the movie experience, watching TV shows or films, whether it's through Netflix or local to your device. Yes, it's not just about music. And the other application that people are using it for is gaming. Gamers, the world of gaming and the world of high quality audio are starting to converge. Gamers are starting to realize that there are a number of advantages in that space. For example, gamers are often trying to stalk their enemies through a quiet environment in a first-person shooter game, and they need to be able to resolve distant footsteps or faint movements of the enemy, and to be able to hear those above the noise floor first and foremost, and then to identify and locate where those enemies are. So we're talking about extremely high dynamic range is required there, as well as just high output power, high SPL. They need to be listening to things at quite a high level. So gaming, music, movies, and podcasts, a number of applications for Onyx that we're seeing.
People would not necessarily want to plug speakers into this though, right?
Not speakers directly, but if you have a pair of powered speakers, such as what's found at many desktops, these are speakers that have their own power supply and amplifier built in. Onyx can act as a very high quality digital to analog converter for a set of speakers like that. For example, rather than connecting an analog out from your PC or your motherboard to these speakers, you would use Onyx and then take the analog out of that, plug it into these speakers, and you'd experience lower noise and better signal to noise ratio, as well as just lower distortion, digital to analog conversion. And the nice side benefit of that is you can also render MQA with that approach, whereas the sound card with most PCs is not capable of rendering MQA.
Very, very versatile. So tell us about pricing and availability.
Great. So Onyx is on sale right now for $199 US. It's also 199 euros. It's exclusively for sale right now with our e-commerce partner at razer.com. That's razer.com. We'll be rolling that out to more distributors as we proceed forward, but for the moment, that's where it can be purchased.
And for more info, where can people go?
Yep, I invite you to come and check us out at thx.com/Onyx to find out more. And we have a great support page there where you can learn more about the product, how to use it, learn how to use it with your device, whether it's iPhone, Android, PC, or Mac, and also learn how to use it with your favorite application, whether it's Apple Music Lossless, Amazon Music HD, Tidal with MQA. We have a number of detailed setup guides to help people get their software up and running and to ensure that bit perfect playback, the highest quality playback.
Again, it's thx.com/Onyx, ONYX. Congratulations on the innovation. And Andrew Mason, thank you for taking the time with us.
Great. Thank you, Fred.
Cooking with the power of the sun. Hi, I'm Fred Fishkin, here to tell you about the latest innovation from my friend Patrick Sherwin and his great team at GoSun Stove. The GoSun Fusion has arrived using the company's tried and true reflectors and a solar vacuum tube to get you cooking without the mess of charcoal, heavy propane tanks, or smoke. A really bright idea. And with an optional solar panel and battery storage and the ability to plug in at home or on the road, you really can use the GoSun Fusion to cook anytime and anywhere, day or night, rain or shine. I love what Patrick and his team are doing, and so will you. Want to learn more? Head to gosun.co to check out all of the company's products and innovations, and use the code THX to save 10%. That's gosun.co.